A glass exploded on marble, red wine bleeding beneath the chandelier's blaze. Gasps scattered, then laughter sliced the air. "Serve us, girl." "That's your place," the pearl-clad hostess spat. Phones lifted, lights blinking like fireflies in the heat. Smirks spread, whispers curled. All waited to watch her bow. But Naomi Carter did not bend. Her hands stayed steady. Her gaze locked forward. Quiet flame, unyielding. One question struck the hall. Would she break or set it on fire? The chandelier burned overhead like a false sun, light scattering across marble polished to a mirror's shine. Glasses clinked, laughter rose, jazz drifted, and then the sound cracked. "Hey, maid, pour the wine." Pearls gleamed as the woman's voice cut through the hall. A ring of tuxedos burst into laughter, sharp and ugly, echoing like crows trapped beneath the dome. One man snapped his fingers, summoning her like property. All eyes turned, some curious, some cruel. Phones tilted, tiny red lights blinking. Naomi Carter did not bow. Her phone pressed firm against her palm, metal edge cold against her skin. That steady scrape reminded her of boardroom tables and billion-dollar signatures, a rhythm of control, a rhythm of dignity. Then, rip. The badge was torn from her wrist, paper split with a dry crack, floating down like broken wings. Naomi breathed once, shoulders straightening. Into the phone, calm but cutting, she said, "Priority 1, cancel it, now." The music died. Hands froze mid-air. Glasses trembled at the lips. They hadn't caught every word. Only the steel in her eyes, bright as the chandelier above. And from the back, a reporter raised his phone higher, its red light steady, recording it all. The storm had not broken yet. But the room knew. It was coming. The light in Caldwell Manor seemed to dim, not from a switch, but from the room's sudden chill. Jazz thread thinned to background noise. Conversations clipped off. All eyes were fixed on Naomi like she'd become the exhibit in a strange museum. "Why are you still standing there?" A tall man in a tuxedo snapped, lifting his champagne as if toasting a joke. His voice cut through the hall, commanding, contemptuous. "Move faster, and maybe I'll tip you." Laughter cracked around him, brittle as a dropped glass. The woman in pearls drifted closer, her perfume a heavy ribbon that curled around Naomi trying to bind. The air smelled of citrus and arrogance. Naomi did not step back. Her phone warmed in her fist, a small, steady heat against her palm. Like the pulse of contracts signed, meetings won. For a breath, something in the guard's stance softened. Hope flickered. Maybe someone would step between power and cruelty. Then the pearl-clad woman ripped the badge from Naomi's wrist. The paper tore with a dry, merciless snap. She held the pieces up high, a gruesome trophy. "She has no right to be here. Take her out." Her voice ricocheted, and prejudice unfurled through the crowd like smoke. Phones angled, red lights blinking higher. The guard's footsteps moved forward, slow and deliberate, each one a drumbeat on the stone floor. Naomi drew air in, deep, controlled. Her voice came out low but clear. "You've chosen the hard way." The statement landed small and precise, like a pebble tossed into an otherwise still pond. Ripples ran outward. Several guests straightened in their chairs. A few whispers turned to questioning murmurs. But the tuxedoed man was ready with proof. He grabbed another pass, tore it theatrically, and let the pieces flutter down like funeral confetti. "See? More proof she's lying," he crowed. At that instant, Rachel Hayes stepped forward, camera phone raised. Her voice shook, but it reached the room. "I saw her name on the guest list." "Don't deny it." Silence tightened. Then a sound, the clink of a tray. Marcus, the young server, steadied his hands and offered a slight, meaningful nod. It was a tiny rebellion, barely a ripple, but it was visible. Naomi's eyes met Rachel's. Then she glanced at the torn papers on the floor. A thin smile cut her face, not warm, not bitter, but sharpened like a newly honed blade. The guard's hand hovered near her shoulder, heavy and sure. From the gallery, a flash popped, camera shutter, freezing the tableau into pixels. Phones bloomed with the image. The room shifted, Some leaned in, others retracted. The woman in pearls lifted her chin, contempt hard as stone. Get her out, now! The tension pulled taut, like a bowstring drawn to its limit. Every breath in the hall held, every eye waiting for which way the string would break. The guard's hand hovered inches from Naomi's shoulder. Then rip! Golden cardstock tore in two. The tall man shredded a fresh invitation, pieces drifting like autumn leaves under the chandelier. The sound cut so sharply the jazz band stumbled, horns coughing off key. Naomi lifted her head. Her eyes caught the light, dark pools reflecting fire. She didn't answer their laughter. Instead, her finger circled the rim of a water glass. A thin chime rose, transparent, fragile, defiant, a shield of glass between dignity and disgrace. Her name was on the list. I swear it. Rachel Hayes stepped forward, trembling, but her words carried. Whispers broke through the hall, ripples spreading. For a breath, doubt flickered. Then pearls gleamed again. The woman's voice sliced. Don't believe it. She's chasing cheap attention. This is no stage for strays. Scorn erupted, pressing heavily. The circle of light seemed to shrink, shadows closing in. Naomi's hand stayed steady on the glass, its cold rim grounding her pulse. Then Marcus set down his tray, his voice low but firm. People with dignity don't need to shout to be believed. The words landed like an arrow against marble walls. A few young guests murmured, uncertain but stirred. Naomi exhaled, calm, steady. The more you try to tear apart, the clearer the truth becomes. Her gaze swept the crowd, over faces, over hands, over the glowing dots of phones recording. Red lights pulsed like embers, ready to ignite. Drag her out now! The woman snapped, her chin jerking high. The guard advanced, black glove reaching. Naomi did not move. She stood rooted, stone in the current, unbroken before the flood. The guard's glove hovered, inches from Naomi's shoulder. When the hall cracked open, like a dam bursting, shouts collided with whispers, ricocheting against marble and glass. The tall man's laughter braided with the pearl-clad woman's shrill cry, a cruel chorus of mockery. Naomi did not move. Her face betrayed nothing, though her eyes blazed with the chandelier's thousand lights. Her hand stayed on the glass, its chill crawling up her arm, a frost against the quake inside. Alone, cornered, a single stone in a rising flood. Then Rachel Hayes lifted her phone higher, red light blinking. Her voice wavered but pierced. I have proof. I saw Naomi Carter's name on the guest list this afternoon. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the pearl-clad woman snapped, laughter sharp as cut glass. This little reporter just wants cheap fame. Don't let her fool you. The crowd swayed, heads shaking, eyes averted, whispers choking out her claim. Hope flared, then guttered. The air thickened, each breath a struggle. The guard's hand clamped Naomi's shoulder. His tone was ice. You need to leave. A thunderclap. Marcus slammed his silver tray onto a table. The clang rang like a church bell, rolling through the hall. Every head turned. Sweat streaked his face, but his words came low, carved with steel. I saw it too. She spoke with the advisor about tonight's deal. A maid doesn't give those orders. The tray quivered, sending vibrations into the stunned silence. A few guests faltered, eyes shifting. Naomi met Marcus's gaze, two lives scarred by dismissal, bound in that instant. A fragile light cracked through the wall of contempt, but pearls lifted again. The woman's chin rose, her voice slicing. Enough! She's conspiring with lowlifes to ruin this evening. Get her out, now! The guard's grip tightened. Naomi closed her eyes once, drawing breath. When they opened again, her gaze flashed like lightning before the storm. No one in the hall could guess what would break next. Drag her out, now! The pearl-clad woman's cry sliced the air. The guard's grip crushed Naomi's shoulder. She stumbled, heels cracking against marble. Each strike hollow, coffin nails sealing shut. Whispers swelled, cruel and careless. All she's good for is acting, a man muttered, smirking. Naomi's white dress creased under the guard's hand, her body pinned in the circle. Rock bottom. Yet her fingers brushed her phone. A glow rose from the screen, pale blue across her face. one candle trembling in a cellar of dark. Click. Not glass. A camera. At the back, an older guest lifted a vintage lens, light glinting off brass. His voice carried, "I just photographed you tearing her badge apart." The hall froze. The image was no longer rumor but record. Scraps falling like ash. Arrogance caught mid-gesture. Memory had become evidence, etched in light. The woman in pearls faltered, only for a beat. Then her scoff lashed out. Fake photos! Worthless. But the current shifted. Guests pulled out their phones, thumbs flying, screens glowing. Some turned their cameras toward her. Rachel's voice cut steady, iron under silk. The public will decide. Naomi drew breath, shoulders squared, eyes burned like a torch against storm winds. Even gripped, her pride stood untouchable. Ping, ping, ping. A chorus of alerts rippled across the hall. Faces bent to screens, expressions stunned. Something had spread. Naomi lifted her chin, the faintest smile breaking through. The tide was rising, higher than anyone expected. The chorus of alerts clanged through the hall like alarm bells. Screens glowed in every hand. Headlines screamed across feeds. Caldwell loses $1 billion deal. Carter Global withdraws. Naomi wavered for a breath, hesitation flickering. The guard's black glove clamped her arm, iron and unyielding. But in her other hand, the phone blazed, a digital blade cutting the dark. And then she saw it, Caldwell's face, drained, stricken. This was the point of no return. She inhaled once, her words cut clean. I don't need recognition. I built this deal, and I just ended it, in front of you all. The declaration shattered against marble, 1,000 echoes ricocheting. Gasps tore from the crowd. Red wine spilled, bleeding across white stone. Pearls trembled on their string, the woman's hands quivering against her clutch. Naomi yanked free from the guard's grip. She set her phone atop the wine table. Its screen glowed. Caldwell Real Estate collapses. Ward Innovations rises, eyes locked. Denial had no refuge left. Chaos ripped through the hall. Chairs scraping, cameras firing, the draft through the doors whispering of a storm. Rachel clutched her camera, breathless. History in the making. Marcus stood taller than ever, pride igniting in his eyes. Naomi advanced, steady. The chandelier spilled light across her white dress, her silhouette commanding. She fixed the pearl-clad woman with her gaze. You tore my badge. But no one can tear the truth. Her voice landed like a verdict. The crowd froze, some hiding their phones, others raising them higher to record without fear. Naomi's finger hovered above her screen, one command away from unleashing the final blow. Naomi's finger hovered. The room held its breath. A single tap. A chime rang out. On the gala's massive screen, the words blazed. Carter Global cancels $1 billion deal with Caldwell Real Estate. All capital moves to Ward Innovations. The hall detonated. Glass shattered, champagne sprayed, stage lights baked the crowd in heat. Dozens of phones lit at once. Notifications pulsing blue. Angry fireflies swarming the dark. Naomi stood tall, her voice steady, sharp. You can tear badges. You can call guards. But you cannot tear away the truth. I built this deal, and I erased Caldwell's name tonight. Gasps collided with cries. My God, they've really lost it, an investor groaned. Another woman clutched her phone, panic sharp. Pull our money, now! The pearl-clad woman turned pale. Her purse trembled in her hands, voice cracking. You're just putting on a show. Click. The older guest's camera caught her in the act, her fingers fumbling, a forged badge tumbling to the marble. The cheap lettering gleamed under chandelier fire. Rachel Hayes moved fast, live streaming close. Do you see? They're the ones faking it. The hall erupted, roars rolling like surf, applause breaking in bursts, swelling into thunder. Chairs scraped, phones rose higher. Marcus set his tray down gently, his smile quiet, resolute. Justice doesn't need to shout. It only needs light. Naomi did not turn. Her eyes locked on the Caldwells, blazing like fire against midnight. She raised her phone higher, one more command poised to strike. The room froze. The next moment would rewrite everything. Naomi lifted her phone once more. Silence swept the hall, like a chapel before the bell. One tap. A new alert blazed. Carter Global bans all partners from dealings with Caldwell. Violation of public values. Doubt evaporated. Investors' screens chimed in chorus. Stock trackers plunging in real time. Heavy sighs rolled like waves. Chairs scraped as guests rushed back, retreat written on every face. Caldwell's fortress collapsed before their eyes. Naomi placed her phone gently on the glass table. The faint click landed like a seal, final and irrevocable. Under the chandelier, her face glowed. Solemn, not gloating. Dignity had come home. Pearls scattered. The necklace snapped, stones tumbling across a marble with hollow clatters. Each drop struck like a gavel of consequence. The tall man bent, then let them fall again. His eyes emptied. Their power lay broken, fragile as the pearls rolling into shadows. An investor stepped forward, voice firm. "You've done what many of us long for, placing justice above profit." Hands reached out, cards were offered, and ties were cut with Caldwell, as alliances formed with Carter Global. Respect was no longer silent, it was action. Marcus bowed slightly, tray empty but eyes alight with pride. Rachel steadied her live stream, voice clear. "This is history. Justice isn't abstract anymore. It happened here." The suffocating weight lifted. Relief rose. A clap, then another, until the hall thundered with applause, steady, united. Naomi's smile was quiet, calm, carrying light. Outside, the great clock struck 10. Its echo rolled through the night, declaring an era ended, and a new one begun. On the table, Naomi's phone lit with a private message. "Be careful. This game isn't over." The final chimes of Caldwell Manor faded into silence. Shattered glasses remained on the marble, catching the light like scars left by a storm. Naomi stood in her white dress, no longer hemmed by contempt, but surrounded by eyes lifted with respect. People remembered the beginning, when she was called a maid, when her badge was torn like waste. Now those same fragments stood as evidence, arrogance exposed, drowned beneath steady applause. She bent and picked up a single pearl from the broken necklace. Cold in her palm, it gleamed with quiet truth. She did not keep it. She placed it on the table, a reminder that prideful power always shatters before justice. The crowd gathered close. Handshakes extended, nods carried from face to face, business cards exchanged with intent. Rachel's camera rolled on, but now it captured recognition, not ridicule. A black woman, steadfast, honored where she had once been scorned. Beside her, Marcus held his empty tray, no longer a burden, but a symbol that deceit had been cleared away. The air was lighter, like fresh wind through the great doors. Naomi lifted her face, the crystal light scattered across her features, her eyes carrying the promise that justice endures when people dare to stand tall. Justice begins with the smallest act of resolve. And you, if shamed before a crowd, would you stay silent or rise? In memory of that night, the rip of a torn badge still echoed. Yet it no longer marked shame. It stood as proof that dignity had been reclaimed. Naomi remained in the hall, once filled with jeers. Her eyes were calm, her faint smile a line of light after the storm. On the marble table, a single pearl lay still, glowing beneath the chandelier. It whispered a truth. Prideful power can shatter, but dignity endures. The crowd that once turned away now stepped forward, not only with handshakes, but with open recognition. From red wine spilled on cold stone at the beginning, to Naomi's quiet smile at the end, her journey carved a truth too clear to deny. Dignity is lost only when we let it go. And you, if humiliated before a crowd, would you stay silent or rise?